All right. I have 8 o'clock on my side. And we'll go ahead and get things going. For those who don't know, we have Mr. Bill Ham with us live tonight. Welcome, Bill. Glad to have you. So Bill is a real estate entrepreneur, sought after speaker, and author and operator. He has been a coach, mentor to many in the multifamily space. Bill is known for his best-selling books, Real Estate Raw, a step-by-step instruction manual to building a real estate portfolio from start to finish, and Creative Cash, the complete guide to master lease options and seller financing for investing in real estate, which you co-authored with Jake and Gino. Bill, welcome to REI Genius Community, where we help individuals tap into their real estate investing genius. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So kind of informal. We'll have some Q&A on the back end from those that's dialed in live with us, but I'll just turn the floor over to you and kick off the workshop, and however you want to go through PowerPoint or no slides.
I don't have any slides. We can just kind of go through it. So, this is small group, so we can keep this, open mic. You guys got any questions or anything? Certainly just unmute yourself and raise your hand. We don't have to keep it too formal, but I've been in real estate about almost 19 years now. Started off in 05, kind of went through the last recession, the big last recession. Started off with a duplex, built my way up to over 1,000 unit portfolio. The first 402 units I did with all creative financing. So that was lease options, seller financing, different things of that technique. And that was back in the post sort of 08 to 2012 cycle through there in Macon, Georgia is where I'm from. Small town, there was not a lot of lending going on. The market was pretty depressed. Prices were depressed. Rents were low. It was a pretty impoverished city. And so that's why, I learned the art of using creative financing, because there really wasn't a lot of debt available back then in that town, and for multifamily assets, because we'd come through the 08 crisis and a lot of people just really weren't interested in multifamily or real estate in general for that matter. So my first portfolio was done all with creative financing. And then after that, I got on into doing general syndications, and that's just going out raising money, putting money down, getting your investors together, general partner, limited partner. So I've done a lot of that. Built a management company. I've owned and operated the management company that operated the portfolio, put it like that. And been out here for a while doing it. Been teaching for a long time. I work with Jake and Gino. I also offer my own coaching services, but wrote these 2 books. And and that's pretty much the backstory and how I got here. Creative financing, again, there's no real definition of that. It means lots of different things. Seller financing and master lease option are your 2 major ways of doing, creative financing. Excuse me. So we haven't seen this go on over the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, really, because the market's been too hot. It's been inflated. Prices have been going up. Lending has been good. Money's been cheap. Therefore, there haven't really been a lot of problems in the world. And when sellers don't have problems, they're not that inclined to do things creatively or give creative financing or something of that nature. Now, what has occurred is due to inflation, and we can probably talk about that for a long time, but due to inflation, the Federal Reserve has raised the interest rates. Now, this is normal, usually comes around every 8 to 10 years, market cycles or so. And we go through a recession, but at any rate, the feds have raised the rates. All right, that's obvious. And so what that has done has really made a lot of deals not work as far as going to the bank and borrowing money. Right now, interest rates from local lenders can be anywhere from 6 to 8%, give or take, and Fannie Freddie can be 5, 6%, 6% or so. And so kind of the problem we're running into now is, well, that's almost as much as just raising private capital, like going out and finding investors. Investors will typically invest in your deal at 6, 7, 8% cash on cash return, and it's like, well, why bother with the bank if the rates are, pretty much the same as raising private money, So that's kind of what we're seeing. And that's the feds having raised the rates. And now it's making the capital stack, or what it costs for you to borrow money and to get deals done is now very expensive because the rates have gone up. And so right there, what that's doing is that's lowering your debt service coverage ratio. That's something you need to be very familiar with in the real estate world and in multifamily. Debt service coverage ratio is the ratio of net operating income to mortgage payment, right? So a lender typically wants to see your debt ratio at about a 1.25, meaning for every $1 of net operating income, or excuse me, for $1 of debt payment, mortgage payment, annual mortgage payment, you've got $1.25 in net operating income. If you have that, then they typically say the loan is safe. Well, the problem now is because the rates have gone up. If the rates go up and the prices are also up, that suppresses the debt service coverage ratio. It lowers it. Well, if the debt ratio is low, the only way you can fix that is to pay less or borrow less. So if the seller's not wanting to lower the price and the price is high and the rates have gone up, that's lowering the debt ratio. You got to put out a lot more money. And that's what we're seeing right now. And so it seems like lenders are lending less. It seems like lenders are lending, 60%, 50%, 60%, this kind of stuff. And that's true and not exactly true. The lenders are still lending 1.25 debt ratio. It's just that, to get that number, the lender can't lend you 80% of that price anymore. The revenue isn't high enough. The lender can only lend you 60% or 55% of the price due to the amount of revenue that property is collecting in relationship to its price, right? So that's where we're seeing the issue in the world today. So the answer is there's several things. Either the prices need to come down. That's what I think is about to occur. Or the rents need to go way up real quick. Yeah, good luck on that, especially if we're going into a recession, the way things are, and the rents have already gone up a lot. So it's like if prices are where they are, then the rents have to go up 30, 40% to make sense of the price, right? Or the rates have to come way down. It's one of those three. Okay, well, if we raise the rents, the Federal Reserve will just consider that inflation. They'll just raise the rates again. So, if you raise the rents, they're going to raise the rates, and then that's going to go round and round. The only real answer here is the prices come down. Either the prices come down or we all kind of give up on cash flow and making money in real estate. Again, I don't see us doing that either. So if we still want to make money in real estate, and you still want to actually cash flow, the only answer is the prices have to come down. Well, what we're seeing right now is the sellers are really not interested in selling. They're not interested in selling because they're not getting the prices they want. Great. I understand that. I want to make a lot of money when I sell real estate too. But here's the catch. Buyers don't have mortgages. Sellers do. All we have to do is sit here and wait long enough, and those loans will start to come due. And that is where I think we're going to see the market shift. And I think right there is where you're going to start to see a lot of the creative financing coming in. It's if a seller isn't motivated, they're not likely to actually do any kind of creative financing. It's all about the motivation. Well, with the rates the way they are and the debt ratio the way it is, a seller whose loan is coming due is likely to have to discount that price significantly to be able to sell it. And they're also going to run into the exact same issue with the debt service coverage ratio if they go to refinance. See, everybody's gotten, pretty into this BRRRR model, the buy, renovate, refinance, repeat, and that works great till it doesn't. It works great until the feds raise the rates, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work at all. So that's where I think what has happened is a lot of people over the last 2 or 3 years in the very peak of the market have gone out and overpaid, overborrowed, over leveraged. And now those loans are going to start coming due. I know a lot of people that were out 2 or 3 years ago getting 2-3 year interest only bridge debt, variable rate, this kind of loan, because they were thinking, well, we're going to buy and renovate and refi. We're going to raise the rents because the realtor, of course, said the rents are below market. So we're going to raise the rents a whole bunch of money. And then we're going to refinance and pull all of our money out. Well, that's going to be a problem now because everybody out there was getting 3.25% interest rate loans. Nobody was underwriting for a 7-8% exit strategy. Nobody. So everybody's out there getting those 3%, 3.25%, 3.5% interest rate loans thinking about refinancing in 2 years, 3 years, and they were probably penciling in 4.5% interest rate, right? We blew up by that like it was standing still. So the problem now is all of those loans are coming due, and it's a debt service ratio problem. They're going to have to discount the heck out of the property, or they're going to have to add money to refinance. And right there is where I think you're going to see a lot of distress coming in the next, well, from today on over the next 2 years or so. And it's not going to be a big giant crash of loans all come due and foreclosures and things like that, like the '08 cycle. It's not going to be like that. I think it's going to be the death of a thousand cuts, just a lot of slow foreclosures, one after the other, as these loans come due. So that's my long-winded point of where we are in the market today and why creative financing is going to be, is currently and is going to continue to be a hot topic going forward, whereas it was not really much of a topic over the last 3, 4, 5 years. Right, it's market cycles. The sellers always had options. Well, now that the rates have gone up, now that the debt service ratio doesn't make much sense, and now you can't make much sense out of going and getting a mortgage, there's going to have to be some creativity in here to get some deals done. And that's where I think we're going to see that going forward. This is exactly what I went through back in '08. Slightly different reasons, but the math and the writing on the wall, it's all the exact same. The results will be the exact same. You wind up using creative financing through that kind of market cycle. And I remembered all that. And so that's why I kind of wrote this book, Creative Cash, actually about 2 years ago now. It's just been kind of getting a lot of good traction lately. So that's kind of where we're at as far as, where we are, where I think we're going in the near future. And I'm basing all this on what I've been through, over the last 18 years of market cycles that I've seen. So that brings us to seller financing and master lease options. All right, those are two of your major techniques that you're going to run into when the lenders, as they are starting to stop lending. They're backing up. They're not covering as many deals. All right, so let's talk about master lease options first. That's a more complicated of the two. A master lease option is the same thing as a lease option. A lease option is for a single unit, and a master lease option is just for multiple units. So basically the same concept of the same thing, rent to own, master lease option, right? It's just for multiple units, lease option for one. All right. And so what it is it's a structure, it's a contract that allows us to go in, rent a property with the right to buy it someday in the future. All right. So I'll use Johnny and I as an example here. Let's say Johnny has a property he wants to sell, and maybe today he's asking $1 million for the property. But I look at the deal and I say, gosh, maybe it's only worth 700,000, something like that, because of the income, the rates, and this, that, and the other. But I think, if I came in and I did X, Y, or Z to the property that Johnny hasn't done, but if I came in and did that, the property might actually be worth $1 million. Maybe in a few years it'd even be worth $2 million, right? But today it's not. It's worth that 800,000. So how am I going to get this deal done? I can't buy it at the bank. He's upside down. Doesn't work. All right, master lease option. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to have two contracts. All right, a master lease option is made up of the master lease and the option to purchase. Those are separate contracts, and you want to keep them separate. All right, so let's break those down. The master lease is exactly what it sounds like. It gives me the right to rent all of Johnny's units. So let's say this is, 100 units or something. So the master lease allows me to rent all of the units with the right to sublet to the tenants. So what that means is now I'm effectively, through this contract, the management. I'm going to control the property. I'm going to release or sublet the units, and I'm in control of the cash flow. So this master lease also gives me the control of the operations. Now that would allow me to come in and be the management company, or it might allow me to come in and hire a new management company. That's completely up to you, what you want to do with that. But so the lease allows me to come in, I'm renting the property from Johnny. I am going to have a set rent payment. All right. Now, what I recommend is ideally that you want to set your rent payment, and my rent payment to Johnny would be the taxes, the insurance, and the mortgage. So I'm going to try and get the seller to break even. I'm going to cover whatever their base amount is. See, now Johnny's going to have a mortgage here, right? If he doesn't have a mortgage, then I don't want to do a master lease option. I want to do seller financing. All right, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if a seller has a mortgage in place, they can't do seller financing, right? Because that's where they actually transfer the title to you. They can't do it if there's a loan. So if there's a loan, you have to do the master lease option. So that's what I'm saying. The master lease option, master lease lets me rent the property. I'm in control of the operations. All right, that's fine. But now why am I going to go in and fix that property up? Because in the second contract, the option to purchase, Johnny and I have now come to a price that we agreed on today. So for this conversation, he and I have decided the property is worth $1 million. Okay. And now we're going to set an amount of time that I alone have the right to buy his property for $1 million. That could be anywhere from, a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long, right? That's something you would have to negotiate. But so that's a master lease option, 2 different contracts. The lease lets me become management, lets me control the operations. I'm going to make a payment to him. Hopefully it is only the taxes, the insurance, the mortgage. I might have to give him some extra cash flow to make the deal work. But again, that's something to negotiate. And then separately, I'm going to have the option to purchase his property for $1 million. So let's say for 3 years, that would be the option term, right? Again, something you'll negotiate. And so now I would have the right to be him, run the property, and then, have the right to buy it at the end. Okay, so I see Justin's asking, so no balloon payment. Yeah, no, Justin. So in this particular case, there's no balloon payment because you're renting the property with the right to buy it at whatever price he and I have agreed to earlier. So if it's $1 million, then I have the right to buy his property for $1 million for the 3 years. There's no balloon payment because I'm just going to have to exercise the option to purchase the property when I get to the end of the agreement. So kind of consider a master lease option like a giant or very long purchase and sale agreement. That's really what it is. It's like a big giant purchase and sale agreement with the right to borrow the property in the meantime, being clear. That's what it is, right? So you wouldn't have a balloon payment on a purchase and sale agreement, right? Now, what I am going to have is a deposit, just like a purchase and sale agreement, earnest money or the option money. So I'm going to have to give Johnny a certain amount of money. Number one, I'm going to have to give him legal consideration. So depending on what state you're in or where you are, most states it's like $10 or something like that. There has to be a transfer of money for the contract to be valid. So there is going to have to be the minimum. I'm assuming $1, $10, whatever it is. That's not a reasonable number. It's probably going to be a lot more than that. But I'm going to have to give Johnny some option money. All right. And this is going to be just like earnest money. If I close the agreement and I exercise the option to purchase the property within this 1 to 3 year time frame that we're talking about for $1 million, then the option money is applied to the price. It's taken off the $1 million. If for some reason I get to the end of this deal or at some point in time between now and this 3 year mark, I decide not to buy the property. Maybe I find out it's in bad damage. It's got something wrong with it, something we didn't know early on. And through my test drive, I've decided, you know what? I don't really want to buy this property. Never mind. Thanks for playing. Johnny is now going to keep my earnest money, right? So it's kind of, like I said, a really long purchase and sale agreement. There are some details in here. And again, I go through all the details in these books, especially in Creative Cash here. You're going to have to go in and operate the property. So therefore you're responsible for all the repairs, the maintenance, the operations. Hopefully you're only paying taxes, insurance, mortgage to the seller, to Johnny here. Something you can do. I would not just give the seller, I would not just give Johnny the payment in hopes that he gives it to the bank. Because remember, you're a renter, not an owner. So therefore, if I'm making this mortgage payment to Johnny and Johnny just puts it in his pocket and doesn't actually pay the bank, he's going to get foreclosed on, and I'm not going to know anything about it until the bank shows up and takes the property. Therefore, I would recommend that you, as the optionee, the person who is getting the option, either make the mortgage payment yourself, or if the seller doesn't trust you, and you certainly don't need to trust the seller, what you want to do is put that payment into escrow. And it's going to be taxes, insurance, mortgage. Those are three things that must get paid on this property for it to, maintain its viability, right? So those are the three things that got to get paid, and never give it to the seller. And if the seller doesn't trust you to do it, then you want to hire a third-party escrow agent. That could be a lawyer, it could be a title company, it could be anybody, just a third-party group that's going to hold the money and make the payments to the bank for you, so you can see a ledger transaction. And that also should make the seller a little more comfortable with you, if they don't think that you're going to make the payment. So that's roughly master lease options in there. And again, I'll circle back around in a minute. We can kind of go through some questions if anybody has any. But it's a good technique. It's a great way to get out and start getting a resume going, build a resume without having money to get into deals. You're going to have to be some sort of problem solver. The seller is going to have some kind of need to do this, and you're going to have to bring some sort of solution to the seller. So I really strongly recommend that you focus on the seller and the seller's needs, not just about what you want. So you're going to have to find some seller that has a problem that you can solve, and then exchange your labor, your equity, or your time, your energy for their equity, right? And get into deals. Because the rates are going up, because people are going to be struggling to refinance and get stuck in deals, you're going to find a lot of sellers that are going to start getting a lot more comfortable with this type of concept, whereas before they may not have. But now with the rates where they are and people's inability to sell or refinance, you're going to find some people get real motivated real quick. And so therefore, that's where I think you're going to start seeing a lot of lease options. All right. If the seller has 100% equity, let's say that Johnny now has the same property, $1 million, but he doesn't have a mortgage. He's owned this thing free and clear for some years. Now we can do seller financing. That is actually better than a lease option, because in a lease option, you are just the renter and the title does not transfer to you. So when you go to exercise the option to buy that property, like I said, for $1 million from Johnny here, I am still going to have to buy the property for $1 million. It doesn't matter whether it's worth 2 million or 10 million. I still going to have to buy the property for $1 million. And remember, a lender is going to give you loan to value, let's just say 80% of purchase price or appraisal, whichever is lower. So in this case, the property appraises for 10 million bucks. Great, but it's not like I'm going to go to the bank and borrow 8 million and walk away with all this money. No, I'm still going to have to buy the property for $1 million, and the bank is going to say, okay, we'll give you 800,000, 80% of the purchase or contract, whichever is lower. In this case, it would be the contract is obviously lower. So that's why it's not a refinance into a master lease option. It's still a purchase, no matter what the value of the property is. Seller financing is different. Okay, see, now in seller financing, Johnny here is actually going to act as the bank because he has 100% ownership. He is actually going to transfer the title to me. We are going to go through a closing. We're going to record the deed. Attorney's going to, record all this. All right, so now I am now the owner of that property on title. That was not the case with the master lease option, right? And Johnny has a lien on the property, just like a bank would, just like any lender. And if I don't make payments to him, then he has the right to go through the foreclosure process, foreclose and take the property, right? But I am the actual owner now, and he would have to foreclose in order to take possession. In this particular case, seller financing, I can refinance and borrow money out or whatever the case. So again, seller financing is pretty straightforward. It's just like it sounds. In this case, the seller, Johnny, is going to be the bank. He's going to carry back the mortgage. He's probably going to want me to put down some money, for some skin in the game. But he's going to finance it. I'm gonna make payments to him every month instead of to a bank. That's a really good scenario if you can get into that. A little bit harder to do because people have to have the equity to do that, and not everybody has 100% equity in their property. So if they don't have 100% equity in the property, then you're really looking back at the master lease function. Those are two of your main sources of getting deals done with creative financing. There's lots of other ways, from partnerships to American Express. And I've done all of them, believe me. I don't recommend the American Express one, but so there's lots of different ways. There's no real rule, and you're going to have to come along and look at each individual deal and each individual seller. And you're going to have to really sit down and say, all right, what does this seller need? What do they want? What motivates them? What solves their problems? And can I be the solution to that? And if the answer is yes, then you come in, make an offer that showcases your problem solving skills, and therefore a lease option or seller financing, whatever the case, to help you get into the deal. All right. So that's the basics of seller financing, lease options, kind of a high level view. I want to pause for a minute and kind of open it up. If anybody has any questions or anything they want to talk about, we can kind of go through that. Again, there's a lot of details to it, but high level, that's pretty it. I think Sassy, you got a question?
Hi, Bill. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
I think I heard you say in the beginning, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You said that a lot of your portfolio you built starting out, you did creative financing. Okay.
2 units.
Okay. Okay. So in your experience with apartments, right? Do you find that, well, is it possible? I guess anything is possible. It's probably a little harder as you get a little higher in the units, but have you found that with apartments, a lot of the owners are like tired landlords? Like I came across one the other day. I was calling in a different market, and he has an 8-unit, owns it free and clear. In fact, all his properties he owned 100% free and clear. And he said, I'm tired. I've been a landlord for a very long time. And it's obvious that he did everything on his own. He did not hire a property management company. He did all the repairs. And he said, I'm tired. He said, I've been a landlord for like 40 years. I want to get out. So have you found in your experience that you find a lot of that and when it comes to apartments?
Fair amount, yeah. I wouldn't say a lot, but yeah, a fair amount. And that is a common story. And burned out landlord, my favorite. And that's a great place for a lease option, because that's probably one of the most perfect fits for lease option would be a burned out landlord. They're see, and again, here's my point. When you're trying to solve a problem for the seller, you really got to stop and listen to what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
This individual is probably saying, I want to sell the property. Okay, but that's, the money and the sale and all that is not their immediate motivation. Their immediate motivation is to stop the headache, to stop dealing with the property, to get out. They didn't say, hey, I hate cash flow. I hate profit. I hate real estate. They didn't say that. They just said, I hate the work and the headache, right? So if you go to that person and go, okay, what if there's a way that I can kind of help the headache and get rid of the managerial issues and keep you, in some sort of cash flow? Would that be something that would be interesting to you? Okay, yeah, then how about seller financing, lease option? So you go in there like that, so that's kind of what you got to listen for. Yeah, that seller's just telling you they're just a burned out landlord. They didn't say the property's falling apart, it's eaten alive with termites, I don't have the money to fix it. Those are also things you'll run into. They're just saying, hey, I'm burned out. So that's a great opportunity.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear you say that you can build your portfolio that way, because a lot of times I talked to one person and they were saying, oh no, you got to get a loan and and I'm like, no, you don't. Like,
Nope.
you don't have to
you really
that.
don't. I did my first 402 units with closing with a bank. Now that would be seller financing, line of credit, different things of that nature, and then refinanced at banks. But the first 402 units, I didn't walk into a bank, put down money, get a mortgage, sign on the line. I didn't do that. So
Wait, you said
it's absolutely possible.
The first 402?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Out of about 1,000. Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay. Thank you.
It can be done. It can absolutely be done. I started off with a duplex.
Okay.
I went into houses. I flipped houses for a little while. I did not start off doing large property. I did not start off in commercial real estate. Macon, Georgia, which is a tough little town,
Mhm.
flipping junk houses that I was buying for $15,000-$20,000, renting them out for $500-$600, you know, flipping them, making $3,000-$4,000-$5,000 a flip, you know, thinking that was good
Wow.
money. And yeah, and just kept doing it and got bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was not like I jumped out with some kind of high level beginning or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
quite humble, as a matter of fact. It just stayed at it, and over time, it got bigger and bigger with practice.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I think Joel said, why lease option instead of seller finance for sassy seller? He owns them free and clear, right? If someone owns property free and clear, I would do seller financing. I would not do a lease option if they have property free and clear. You definitely you're way safer with seller financing because the title actually transfers to you. You know, in a lease option, you're just a renter. And so you don't exactly have the same amount of control, you know, in a match lease option. So I would definitely say you want to kind of do that, you know, if you can help it. Yeah, but again, remember the seller has to have the equity to be able to do seller financing. If they have a loan, then you're going to have to do some sort of you know, subject to type match lease option type financing. Yep, absolutely. Any other questions? Anybody, anything you want to talk about? Anybody got any issues they want to go over? I've been out here doing this for a long time, and I teach. You know, I've had hundreds of students, so I know what everybody's going through. The market's tough right now. You know, deal flow is tough right now. That's several things. One, end of the year, beginning into the spring, that always kind of changes. Deal flow picks back up in the spring. Everything's tight right now due to the rates being up. Something I would strongly recommend is trying to go for the 4 to 30 or 40 unit space right now is an underserved space. So I would say under 50 units, under 40 units is a really good space to try and be in right now. Direct to owner, something you really want to be doing right now. You know, yes, working with realtors is good, and you do need to learn to work with your commercial realtors, but that's largely in like 50 units and up, right? Once you hit 50 units and above, you're clearly in the commercial realtor space. I always kind of make the joke and like, hey, have you ever seen 200 units with like FISBO scribbled on a piece of cardboard and stuck out by the road? You know, it's like, no, come on. Nobody puts 200 units on like Craigslist, right? That's not how those things sell. Those are commercial realtors, right? But 50 units and under, it's a grab bag, and I would recommend really trying to go directly to owners if you can help it. Get you know, get Reonomy, PropStream, different sources that you can build those lists and set up some kind of direct contact, whether it be, you know, ringless voicemail or text, or you're just sending little yellow postcards to say we buy houses, anything. You know, be reaching out to owners. Keep in mind when you do these mail campaigns or you're reaching out to a list, you want to reach out to that list about 3 times, 3 to 5 times before you move on from a list. A lot of students want to kind of send out some letters to a list one time and expect it to just rain leads, and it doesn't happen. They get frustrated and want to go get a whole new list. And it's like, no. You got to hit that list like at least 3 times, 3 to 5 times. You know, people have to hear from you a few times before they you know, feel comfortable calling you. Things change. If you want to be sending those letters out on a regular basis, because when that person's mortgage comes due, it could just simply be a timing thing. If you're in their mailbox that day that they think, oh my gosh, my mortgage is coming due in 6 months, what am I going to do? You know, and there's your contact, you know, things like that. That's where you want to really be out there in the market right now. If you're looking at larger stuff, 30, 40 units and above, strongly recommend building relationships with realtors right now. Realtors always know what's going on in the market. You know, as sellers, we'll come to the realtor when we're in trouble and say, hey, listen, mortgage is coming due. You know, what do you think the property's worth? What are my options? You know, stuff like that. So we're reaching out to our commercial realtors as we start to get in trouble, and they're going to start to reach out to their close list of buyers. So in the larger properties, it's all about building relationships with those realtors, getting to know them, getting ready for the leads to come in the future. And in the meantime, smaller stuff, direct to owner. In either case, if you can find out when somebody's loan is coming due, some of this software out there provides that. Like, I don't think CoStar does, but there's some other ones that do. Prop Tech, I believe, some other ones like that. At any rate, if you can find out when people's loans are coming due, that's strong information. Really keep an eye on that. Watch loan maturities, and if you can build a list of people who have loans coming due, start with aging debt first and just really start hitting that list. That would be a very strong list of people to contact. The Reonomy, yeah, that's right. I think it's actually Reonomy. Yeah, Reonomy puts it out there, but there's different ones. But loan maturity, that's going to be the absolute killer. I think it's what we call maturity exposure. And I think there is a tremendous amount of maturity exposure in the world. And it's just like a big giant blender sitting beneath a conveyor belt, right? And it's like everybody's just going down the conveyor belt and they don't realize when that loan matures, they're just going to go right off the end of that conveyor belt, right into the blender of 8% interest rates, right? And it's a meat grinder. And that if you have short-term loans, you might get dumped right into the meat grinder. That's where, for the rest of us, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. If you own real estate right now and you have short-term loans, and I'm describing you, then I recommend you seriously consider your exit strategy. Rates are not going to come down anytime soon. You're going to want to kind of look at your loan. Don't let it sneak up on you. Don't wait to the last minute. Don't, wait until you don't have options. So, readdress that. Don't stick your head in the sand. If you're out there with a 3.25% interest rate, you got a refinance coming in the next year or two, bite the bullet and get ahead of it. You're probably gonna have to be writing a check to refinance that deal, but better than foreclosure. So that's kind of the where it's going. Going to be a lot of creativity going forward. Going to take a lot of creativity to get deals done. Creativity is all about being a problem solver, right? So you really want to put your creative hat on, find ways to solve problems, look for sellers that have issues and problems, and be the solution. You can exchange that creativity and entrepreneurial drive for access to real estate. And I'll tell you, this market cycle here is it's funny. It's when the market crashes is when the little guy gets a shot. It's when people that are not already wealthy get a chance to get in the business. Over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and the market has been hot and prices are high and everything's great. That's when it's actually the hardest time to make money. It's when the cycle's like it is now and everybody's running away from real estate. That's when you get a chance to get in there and really get yourself in the business. So that's what I hope everybody does going forward. But yeah, anyway, so again, it's pretty high level view. Seller financing, lease options, about where we are in the world. It's going to be a little while before those rates come down, and until the rates come down, it's going to be a creative financing free for all. So good way to get out there and get into some deals and get some things going. Yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything they want to talk about, certainly just raise your hand, let me know.
Yeah, Bill. No, this has been great, man. I got a question, but first, I didn't know you were from Macon. So I cut my teeth. I was stationed down in Warner Robins from 05 to 2010. And I kind of came up through William Tingle's real estate.
Through his Tingle.
Yeah, through his REI in Macon. So, for those 4 years, I kind of latched on to William, kind of the subject to mastery and everything that he teaches in his REI. So that's cool. Small world.
Yeah. Well, William Tingle. Yeah, that's actually I got a story about that in that book. I'm at his REI in that book. I tell a story about that. Yep.
Yeah, small world. So one of the big things, especially like with high level entrepreneurs and business owners, I always like to ask, what do you see has kind of been the top driver to your success? You like you said, you've been in the game almost 20 years now. Kind of going through, what have you seen has kind of been the top driver for your sustained success, to be going this long and kind of build up a portfolio over time to thousands of units? Because I know a lot of people have that goal, like, I want to get 1,000 units and the goal. So kind of how's that journey been for you in that process?
I don't really know what I have to come up with, like a term for it or something like that. But it's kind of like it's learning the art of self-forgiveness. That's the one thing I can tell everybody. Now, that sounds like I'm telling you to learn how to forgive yourself, and I'm actually not. What I'm telling you is you're probably forgiving yourself for the wrong stuff at the wrong time. And that's a problem. All right. So people want to get upset with themselves when they make a mistake, and they want to forgive themselves when they don't take action at all. That's a problem. All right. You need to get upset with yourself. You need to not forgive yourself when you're screwing around, when you're not taking action, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Right. That's where that nervousness comes from. You always kind of back in mind, you got that uneasiness, that kind of nervousness. That's because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Somewhere you've been screwing off. Somehow you're supposed to be doing something. That's when you get onto yourself. When you make a mistake in the line of duty, forget that. Who cares? Write that off. Don't worry about that. That's what I mean. It's like, now people get that reversed, right? They feel like, man, I made a mistake. I'm so stupid. I don't see. And you start feeling sorry for yourself when you shouldn't be feeling anything, because you just made a mistake out doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then when you're not taking action, that's when you start forgiving yourself. You're saying, oh, it's okay, that you didn't work hard. It's okay you didn't do it, because Johnny had more chances. See, Bill was born in the right neighborhood, and Johnny had good parents, and Cole over there, man, he had this option and they had that option. See, you start co-signing your own nonsense like that. And that's probably the biggest tip I give somebody is be hard on yourself and unforgiving when you're screwing around. And when you make a mistake because you were trying, write that off. Don't worry about that. But getting out and just screwing up and not worrying about it's probably a little crazy. But yeah, that's my tip for everybody is be crazy enough to forgive yourself for making mistakes, but don't forgive yourself for sitting around on the couch. Never do that.
No, I love that. That's definitely wisdom there.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's what's kept me going, just not always trying, and not really taking those failures too seriously, just always trying to remember that there's a learning curve to everything. When you fail the first time, that's a mistake, as long as you don't repeat it. Now you keep making the same mistake, okay, that's a different story. But it's like the first time you screw something up, man, that's learning curve. Worry about that. I love wrecking stuff, man. It means now I know what to do. My wife gets on me all the time. I will take some apart, tear it all up, and can't put it back together. But I know how it works now. I'll break stuff just to fix it, just so I learn how to make it work again. But you got to be that way. That's the understanding of failure. People are too worried. They take failure way too seriously, and then don't take inaction seriously enough. And you got to get those thoughts reversed in your head, and then you'll be fine. But yeah, that's probably what I would tell everybody.
Bill,
No,
yes, ma'am. I got another question for you. I'm so sorry.
Sure, no, go ahead.
So, you hear a lot of high level investors, and even investors who may not be at that level yet, they always talk about, the one deal that they did that was like the worst, or it cost them the most money, or it was such a learning curve for them. Have you experienced that? I'm pretty sure you have, and describe how that deal went and why it was horrible.
Yeah, the worst deal, I'd have to think about that. All right. Different deals for different reasons. All right. I failed on a raise once, and I can't say it was my worst deal because I never closed the damn thing. But I failed on 150,000. I failed on a raise to close an apartment complex, which cost me 150,000 in earnest money because I screwed up the raise. So that was a bad day. And I learned how to drink whiskey straight after that one. So, I had a family intervention. I got put on medication, put on depression medication. Can't make this stuff up. So, yeah, that was a bad one. It was good and bad. It was bad in the sense that, I lost that money and that set me back a lot and really got in my head and screwed me up. The weird thing was within a year, I'd made the money back. And what I had, again, is what I had to realize is that, now in retrospect, it's just a funny story. But at the time, man, I thought I was done. I thought I'm the laughing stock of the world. These realtors are never going to talk to me again. I'm blacklisted from the market. No, you know what I realized? Not that important.
Right.
Really, I just wasn't that important. It's like memories are short, money's green. Nobody cared. You know, I made it to be a bigger deal because again, I was feeling sorry for myself. I made it to be a bigger deal than anybody else did. Nobody else really cared about me. So you just kind of have to learn how to take some of that stuff in stride and write it off and keep going. You know, another worst deal is the very first property I ever bought, a duplex. I've had the very first property I ever bought. I've sold everything in my portfolio, you know, over 1,000 units, all that kind of stuff. I still own that damn duplex. The first property I still bought, and it's still abandoned. And it still has a tree growing in the middle of it. And it's still in the middle of Macon, Georgia, in a terrible neighborhood. I don't even want to ride over there. It's dangerous. You know, I abandoned that thing years ago. Make the mortgage payment every month, $413.20 every month, you know. But it was my very first deal. It's in my personal name, the only piece of real estate I was ever dumb enough to buy in my own personal name. So I can't go into foreclosure on it. It'll go straight to my credit. So I make a $400 and something mortgage payment every single month on an abandoned duplex that I've owned for, well, since 2005.
Wow.
It's right there in Macon, Georgia. Yep. It serves to get me lots of texts and calls and we buy apartments, postcards, and all the crap I'm telling you all to go do. Yeah, it puts me at the top of the list because I've owned it for 18 years, whatever it is. So right there, it looks like I've got a ton of equity. I don't. I'm out of town owner, so I'm like the top of everybody's list. Long term out of town owner, man, they all hit me up. Problem was, I bought it for $43,000. Actually, and it's funny, Johnny, I tell this story in this book. And in the story, I'm in a REIA group, which is William Tingle's REIA group in the story. And somebody they go around the room. He went around the room back in the day, and he'd say, hey, if you've done your first deal, stand up, tell us who you are, tell your first deal, whatever. So I was like, oh, me, I did my first deal. And they're like, yeah, tell us about it. And I said, oh yeah, it's a duplex, it's over on such and such street. And I said, I bought it for $43,000. It's cash flow and such. One guy in the back of the room just busted out laughing. I'm like, what the hell? The guy stood up and said, man, you an idiot. He said, we're paying about $25,000 over on that street for duplex. I was like, still own it today. 30-year mortgage, Fannie Mae, 30-year mortgage on that thing, right? And I still owe about 30 grand on it. It's probably worth about 3 grand, right? So it's just gonna sit there. I'm gonna make mortgage payments on it for the next 15 years. And so again, there's good deals, bad deals all over the place. We could be here all night with that stories. Those stories.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
Everybody's got stories. Point being is it doesn't really matter. You should take that away that every person who's successful has some sort of horrible crash and burn story, and they all survived it. So it's kind of back to my point of not really beating yourself up over that part so much, but don't let yourself off the hook when you're out there not taking action, being lazy. That's the key. And I think that's probably a little bit of crazy, a little certain kind of crazy to do that, but you're gonna have to find that kind of crazy and be that.
Thank you so much. Bill, will you give us your contact information or how people can connect with you?
Absolutely. All right. So several things. One, I'll put my email address over here so everybody can email me. Number two, I have a Facebook group called Real Estate Raw, just like this book here. Free Facebook groups. Matter of fact, I go live tomorrow. I go live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I do about a 15-20 minute lecture and they're live every week, just like we're doing here. Questions and answers. There's a lot of material in there from live videos I've already done. So please join our group. It's a private group, so we'll have to let you in, but I recommend everybody just sign up for the group. A lot of content there. I don't sell anything. It's just pure information. A lot of info already in there. And it's my property manager and admin manager, asset manager, Monica Wyndham's also runs the group. So between the two of us, got a lot of content. And if you got any kind of property management questions, stuff like that, she's a great resource. So yeah, I would say everybody join me there. I'll give you my email address. I have these 2 books. They're on Amazon. Certainly recommend you get the books. Creative Cash is the one that's going to be on the creative financing. Real Estate Raw is on a step-by-step how to build a business, how to build a real estate portfolio. Yeah, that's it. And so websites, Real Estate Raw as well. You can check that out. But I've got a lot of content out there, a lot of stuff out there you guys can follow and find. I'm on all the social media groups. Been putting out a lot of material. Yeah, but again, like I said, I'll be happy to give everybody my email address, and if anybody,
Thank you.
yeah, if anybody has any questions or needs help with anything, I don't mind answering questions here and there. And I do offer coaching services. I don't really get out and sell myself, but if anybody's interested, reach out to me. We'll talk about it.
I just joined your Facebook group.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, go live tomorrow to 2 o'clock. So I'll pick a different subject each week. I think tomorrow I'm actually going to talk about constructive eviction. If you guys don't know what constructive eviction means, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on the group. You got to watch out for that. I'm afraid that is a topic that we will be running into, a very negative topic that we're going to be running into in the future if you're not careful with condition of buildings.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, you said that's kind of, you said tied to the condition of the building.
Constructive eviction, yeah.
Gotcha.
In short, basically it is a case that a tenant can make against you if you don't do repairs to a certain level, and you're basically evicting the tenant by making the property unlivable. That's the argument they'll make. There's lots of different types of constructive eviction. A more egregious one would be like if a tenant stops paying the rent and you as a landlord go over there and take the front door off. It might sound logical, but that's illegal. That is constructive eviction. So you can't do that. You can't like damage, maliciously damage the property in retribution against the tenant. That is actually highly illegal. But also not doing repairs and the city coming in and you losing your certificate of occupancy, or the city code enforcement coming in and saying, hey, the building's in bad shape, blah, 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 can result in the city saying that you've convictedly or constructively evicted people. This is going to be a problem in older buildings going forward. You start running into these really older properties, 60s and 70s, the plumbing's starting to go out on it and the flooring's rotten, and and it's not that you're a slumlord, it's not that you're a bad person. It's just like you bought this property, you probably overpaid, you overborrowed, you weren't really planning on all of this CapEx, the plumbing and this, that, and the other. Now you got a bunch of tenants that aren't paying the rent and the market's gone soft, and here comes the city. Now they want you fixing stuff. You can get yourself in a bad situation. How do I know? Yeah, go check channel 13. I was on it, right? So I'll be talking a lot of stuff like that and real stories and just telling you times when I was on channel 13 because of God knows what, but been there a few times for that one. But yeah, stuff like that. So just different topics and, keeping it short, 15, 20 minutes, just pick out a different subject each week, head it out there. So yeah, I hope you guys join us. Get the books, a lot of good stuff in there, and then just follow me on social media. I'll be out there with a lot of content. Got a lot of stuff on Instagram. I pay a guy now to kind of recycle my material. So
okay, awesome. Do you still invest in the making area?
No, I've sold everything. The only thing I've actually sold my entire portfolio. So I only own that abandoned duplex at the moment. So no, I'm semi-retired. I'm just teaching at the moment. I am getting back into the market when getting into the market is right. I'm sold everything in the peak, hanging out, enjoying life. I moved down to Clearwater, Florida. So I'm hanging out down here in sunny Florida, not Macon, Georgia. No, I don't
Nice.
go back there unless I have to. So no, and I don't recommend it if y'all do either.
Right. Well, awesome. Any other questions? I definitely appreciate you coming out, Bill. And next time I'm down that way in Florida, I have to look you up.
Please do. Anybody? Yeah. I'm cheap date, beer and some wings. I'll talk real estate all afternoon.
Hey, no, most definitely. But I think really the creative cash flow and just what you said about the, that 50 and below units, the sweet spot, and going direct to owner, that's the same message that I always preach. And the consistency on the market, I think that definitely hits home. And being able to have these skill sets of doing the master lease option, seller financing, that is just in this environment that is going to allow you to be able to get deals done. So
yeah, just keep your ear to the street, stay out there. Market, when it shifts quick. So be ready.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Bill.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Look forward to connecting with you in the future, man.
Yes, definitely. Anybody, like I said, there's my email. You guys reach out to me anytime. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, just let me know. I'll be here.
All righty. Have
All
a
right,
good
take care,
evening,
everybody. Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.